It started like any other trip, our anniversary getaway. We planned it for months, the perfect weekend away from the chaos of work and city life. I remember waking up that Saturday morning with a weird flutter in my stomach, not quite excitement, more like a premonition I couldn't shake. The hotel was on the edge of a quiet lake, the kind where the water's still enough to mirror the sky. Everything was perfect, or so I thought. We were sitting on the balcony sipping coffee when I noticed the text messages. They weren't from her, not directly. They were in her phone, but hidden deep in the thread behind a string of emojis I didn't recognize. I'd seen her texts before, of course, nothing flagged as suspicious. But this time the conversation was different, more intimate, more secretive. The tone was playful but carried a sense of familiarity. I leaned in, trying to catch more words. My stomach sank as I read a line that made my heart pound. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I've missed you so much." My hands went cold. I felt a throb behind my eyes like I'd been punched in the gut. I kept staring at her phone, feeling the weight of betrayal seep into every pore. I was about to say something when she caught me looking. Her face froze, eyes wide, then went blank. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice tight. I couldn't talk. My throat clenched and all I could do was hand her the phone. Her face went pale as she scrolled through the messages, the truth unfolding right there in my hands. She didn't deny it. Instead, she looked at me with this smug, guilty smile, like she'd been caught doing something she'd planned all along. "You're kidding me," I said, voice rough. This was going on the whole time." She shrugged like she didn't see why I was making such a big deal. "It's just some stupid flirting," she said, but I saw the flicker of guilt in her eyes. That's when I realized the red flags had been there all along. Little things I'd ignored, the late nights, the unlocked phone, the way she'd always dodge my questions about where she was. But I'd never wanted to admit it. Not until now. My mind spun, trying to process how I missed everything. How was so blind to the signs that my wife, the person I trusted most, had been sneaking around with my best friend. My fists clenched, my stomach twisted like I'd swallowed a stone. I remember thinking, this can't be happening, not on our anniversary. The day I had dreamt of proposing, I was now faced with a choice: confront or let it fester into resentment. I didn't want to just walk away without a plan. I needed to understand how deep this betrayal went and what I was going to do next. And then a thought hit me like a lightning bolt. If she thought she could get away with this, then I'd make sure she paid for it. Every secret message, every meeting, every lie, she'd regret ever even considering she could cheat without consequences. I had to be smart, precise. She thought I was naive, that I'd just let it go. That was a mistake. I looked at her, my voice cold and steady. "You think this is just a little flirting? You're messing with my life, my trust. I'll give you one chance to come clean, or I'll take everything away from you." She looked surprised, but mostly annoyed. "You're overreacting. It's not what you think." "Oh, it's exactly what I think," I snapped. "And I'm not done yet, not by a long shot." That day marked the end of my naive trust, but I wasn't about to go down without a fight. I just didn't know yet how far I was willing to go. All I knew was I had to act fast, because once I uncovered everything, there'd be no going back. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept circling around the same thoughts like a train stuck on a loop. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the look on her face when I handed her the phone. That smug smile, like she already knew she was untouchable. It made me sick. I could feel the heat of anger rising, but I knew I had to stay calm, at least for now. The next day, I started digging. I needed evidence, hard proof. I couldn't just confront her with vague accusations. I had to know exactly how deep this went, how many meetings, messages, hidden plans. I remembered the little things she'd been doing lately: clocks ticking late at night, quick bathroom sneaks, the strange way she'd clutch her phone whenever I got close. I decided to check her emails, her social media, anything that might reveal more. I got up early, eyes bloodshot from a restless sleep, and kept my movements careful. I didn't want her to suspect anything. I opened her laptop, feeling my heart pound in my chest, and started searching through her messages. It was like peeling back layers of a rotten onion, more lies, more secrets. What I found was worse than I expected. Not just flirtatious texts, but plans, meetups, secret codes, arrangements that made my stomach turn. There was a specific message from her, timestamped just last night, talking about our place, A hotel downtown. She'd been planning it all along. I read it 3 times trying to believe what I saw. While I was at it, I found a hidden folder filled with pictures, snapshots of her and him, smiling, touching, caught in moments that weren't meant for my eyes. My fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. I felt sick, but I knew I had to keep going. If I was going to do this right, I needed a full picture of the betrayal. Then came the moment I knew I had to escalate. I looked at the hotel reservation confirmation saved on her desktop, just the name of the hotel, the date, and her name. I had all just a plain paper trail. I had what I needed. Now I was ready. I spent the rest of the day planning. I wasn't just going to confront her in anger. I was going to make her see how much she'd messed up. I wanted her to realize I knew everything. I decided I'd set a trap. I'd leave a little gift for her to find, something that would make her regret every lie, every secret meeting. That evening, I bought a small, discreet recorder. I knew I could use it to catch her, to make her confess. I also bought a few more copies of the evidence, screenshots, emails, the hotel reservation, printed out and ready. I wanted her to see I was serious. I'd gather all her lies in one place, and that way she couldn't deny it. I sat on the edge of the bed, feeling a strange mixture of anger and relief. I was finally getting somewhere. I thought, this is what real revenge looks like, being one step ahead. It was a game and I was about to win. But I also knew deep down that once she realized I was onto her, she'd fight back. That's when the real war would start. I'd be ready. I had to be. As I checked everything one last time, I caught a whiff of her perfume lingering in the air. It made my stomach churn even more. How could I have missed all of this? How could I have been so blind? I clenched my jaw, knowing that tomorrow wouldn't just be another day. It would be the day I finally confronted her with everything. And I was going to make sure she paid for every single lie. The morning hit like a punch in the stomach. I woke up early, my mind racing with plans and possibilities. I kept replaying everything. The texts, the photos, the hotel reservation. I'd spent the night preparing, organizing everything like a soldier getting ready for battle. I'd finally turned into the kind of person I once swore I'd never be, someone who fights fire with fire. I slipped out of bed quietly, lest she wake up and get suspicious. I didn't want her catching me sneaking around or seeing what I'd laid out. I was meticulous. I knew that if I wanted this to be effective, I had to be precise. I'd set up the recorder in the living room, hidden behind a stack of books. I knew she'd probably lie or deny, but I wanted her own words to catch her. I left a small, innocuous note on the bathroom mirror. Time to talk. Be ready. It was vague enough to seem casual, but firm enough to let her know I wasn't backing down. Then I went to the doorstep where I'd left a small, wrapped gift, something to lure her, something that would make her realize I knew everything. She woke up just as I was about to leave. Her eyes flickered with confusion when she saw the note. "What's this?" she asked, voice muffled from her pillow. I gave her a cold glance. "You'll find out, just be ready." I turned and left before she could say anything more. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I'd never been this angry before, so betrayed, so hurt, so furious that I wanted to shake her until she confessed. Driving to the hotel, I felt every nerve in my body tense up. I'd chosen a quiet, out-of-the-way spot, somewhere she wouldn't suspect I'd be waiting. I parked a few blocks away, watching the entrance, making sure she didn't see me. I stayed hidden behind a corner, clutching my phone, ready to record her every move. Soon I saw her. She looked around nervously, clutching her purse, trying to act casual. Her face was pale, her eyes darting everywhere. When she spotted the hotel, her shoulders sagged a little, like she was giving in to guilt. I couldn't help but stare, feeling that cold rage boil up again. I watched her go inside, then I approached the hotel lobby. I had to do this carefully, no impulsive moves. I waited until I saw her check in and then followed her quietly, keeping my distance. I needed to see exactly what she was doing, who she was with. I'd come this far, I wasn't going to blow it now. A few minutes later, I saw her walk into a room with someone. I couldn't see who it was at first, but then I caught sight of a familiar face. My so-called best friend. My blood ran cold. That confirmed everything. They'd been planning this for weeks and I'd been too blind to see it. I pulled out my phone, started the recorder, and pressed record. I wanted them to speak freely, to say what they really thought I wouldn't catch. I pressed record and stood there watching them through the window. My stomach twisted like I'd swallowed 1,000 worms. They were sitting close, talking in hushed tones. I couldn't hear everything, but I saw the touches, the lingering glances. I saw the way she leaned in, the way he grinned like he was proud of himself. That's when I realized it wasn't just a fling, it was a full-blown affair. I stayed hidden for a while, letting the conversation unfold. I saw her pull out her phone, show him the hotel reservation, whisper something I couldn't hear. They were planning, conspiring. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a betrayal of the worst kind. When I finally turned to leave, I felt the weight of everything I'd uncovered. My hands were trembling, but my mind was clear. I had what I needed. I had evidence, proof. Now I knew exactly how far they'd gone. My plan was in motion. I'd waited long enough. It was time to confront her, and I wouldn't hold anything back. That night I sat in my car a few blocks from the hotel, the evidence finally in my hands, and my mind racing even faster. I'd spent the day watching, recording, gathering everything I needed to make her see she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I felt like I'd been holding my breath all day, waiting for that moment to come, and now that it was here, I was surprisingly calm. Cold, even. I decided on my approach. No shouting, no screaming, just cold facts, undeniable proof, and a plan to make her regret every single lie she told me. I pulled out the printed screenshots, the hotel reservation, and the recordings on my phone. It was all laid out in front of me, like a blueprint for her downfall. My stomach clenched when I thought about her reaction, but I knew I had to be decisive. I'd come this far, there was no turning back now. I took a deep breath, then sent a quick message. Be ready tomorrow morning. We need to talk, no emotion, no threats, just a simple, firm statement. I returned home and waited, the tension in my chest so thick I could barely breathe. When she finally came out of the bedroom the next morning, I knew my moment had arrived. She looked exhausted, eyes puffy, and her skin was pale. I could see the guilt written all over her face before she even opened her mouth. You wanted to talk, I said softly but pointedly. She hesitated, then finally spoke. What do you want from me? I held up the evidence. I want the truth, every last detail, starting with this. I pushed the photos and recordings across the table. Tell me, how long has this been going on? She looked away, but I saw her trembling. It was a mistake, she whispered. It didn't mean anything. Stop, I snapped. You think I don't see through that? This wasn't just a mistake. It was planned, wasn't it? My voice was sharper now, each word deliberate. You and him meeting in secret, planning this whole thing. Her lips quivered, but she finally nodded. Yes, we were stupid, I did. Want to lose you, but I messed up. Yeah, you did, I said through clenched teeth. You betrayed me in the worst way possible, but I'm not just going to walk away. I've got a plan, one that'll teach you what betrayal really costs. Her eyes widened with a flicker of fear. What are you going to do? I leaned in, voice low and cold. You'll see, I've documented everything, every lie, every betrayal, and I've got proof that will ruin both of you if I want. But I'm not interested in making a scene. I just want you to understand, you can't keep running from what you did. She looked like she wanted to say something, but I cut her off. No more secrets, no more lies. You've pushed me to the edge, and I swear I will make sure you regret every second of this. You should thought about that before you cheated on me with my best friend. Her face crumpled, tears welling up, but I was already mentally preparing my next move. I knew I had to act fast, because once she realized I had everything, she'd do whatever she could to spin her way out, but I was ready. I had the evidence, the plan, and an unshakable resolve. I got up, looked her in the eyes, and handed her a small envelope. Here, what you're going to do, you're going to leave. You're going to give me the keys to the house, and you're not going to contact me or my friends ever again, or else. She stared at it, trembling. Are you serious? Dead serious, I said. You've pushed me past my limit. This is the only way I'm going to find any peace. With that, I turned and walked out the door, leaving her sitting there, broken and crying. I knew the fallout wouldn't be pretty, but I also knew I'd taken control of my life again. For the first time in a long while, I felt a tiny spark of hope, even if it was buried under a pile of betrayal and heartbreak. Now I just needed to see her do what I told her, to leave and never come back. because the moment she handed over those keys, I'd finally start putting my life back together. And honestly, that felt damn good. The days that followed were a blur. I spent most of my time cleaning out the house, packing up her things in silence. Every box I carried felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders, yet the ache in my chest kept pounding through my thoughts. It was surreal, like waking up from a nightmare I didn't want to believe was real. She didn't call or come back. I expected her to try and make a scene, maybe beg for forgiveness, but she just disappeared. Probably went to her lover's place or maybe somewhere to hide. Honestly, I didn't care. The only thing I cared about was reclaiming my life from that mess. I handed over the keys the morning after the confrontation, just like I said I would. The house felt emptier without her there, but strangely, it was also lighter. I could breathe again. I left her a note on the door. "It's over. Don't try to contact me. Move on or don't, your choice. I'm done." Simple, clear, final. That night I sat on the porch, staring at the empty house, hearing the quiet hum of the world around me. I didn't expect to feel relief so quickly, but it was there, a strange, strange feeling. I realized I'd spent so long building my life around her, around what I thought was perfect. And now that it was gone, I was finally free. But even in that brief moment of peace, I knew it wasn't the end. I'd set everything in motion, and I was aware she'd come back, maybe with excuses or tears. That's when I'd have to decide, do I let her back in? Or do I finally close that chapter for good? The answer hit me like a punch in the gut. I wasn't going to let her ruin me again. I'd learned my lesson. The trust I'd given her was a one-way street. Once broken, it couldn't be fixed. No matter how much she begged or pleaded, I had to stay firm. I spent the next days reconnecting with friends, taking long walks, and reclaiming my time. I felt a strange mix of empowerment and vulnerability, like I'd been stripped bare, but I was also rebuilding stronger than before. The betrayal had cut deep, but it also taught me something I'd forgotten. I was capable of surviving this. The one thing I kept thinking about was how I'd trusted her blindly, how I'd ignored the signs because I wanted everything to work out. It's a lesson I'll never forget. Listen to your gut. Red flags don't get smaller, they pile up, and ignoring them only makes things worse. I knew she'd try to reach out, probably with some half-assed apology or excuse, but I wasn't interested. I'd made up my mind. I'd cut that toxic cord once and for all. I was finally going to start over without the weight of betrayal dragging me down. One afternoon, I went to the bank and changed my locks, transferred my accounts, and made sure she couldn't get back in. I handed over the keys to the house, sealing that chapter shut. I wanted her to understand that I meant business. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a clean break from the betrayal. As I walked out of the bank, clutching the new keys, I felt a strange sense of clarity. It was over, finished, done. I'd survived the storm, and now I was finally free to rebuild my life however I wanted. The pain still lingered, but it was fading fast. And that's when I realized something crucial. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to find your strength, and I was just getting started. The days since I handed over the keys have been a strange mix of relief and reflection. At first, I thought I'd feel nothing, just emptiness and a hollow ache. But surprisingly, there's been a strange kind of peace settling in. Like I finally exhaled after holding my breath for too long. I've stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes, waiting for her to call or text. That urge to reach out or to see if she's trying to come back has faded into the background. Instead, I focus on rebuilding myself, little things like going to the gym more often, reconnecting with friends, and taking long walks without feeling that gnawing knot of betrayal in my stomach. I realize now that some betrayals cut so deep they threaten to drown you, but I learned to swim through it. I learned to stand tall despite the pain and to trust my instincts. The biggest lesson: don't ignore those red flags. I should listen to that gut feeling long before everything exploded. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to rebuild. The whole experience has changed me, more cautious, more aware. I don't want to be naive again. I see the signs now, and I won't ignore them next time. I've also learned that revenge isn't about hurting her, at least not anymore. It's about taking control of your life and making sure you never get put through that hell again. Honestly, I don't harbor any hate toward her anymore. That's a heavy burden I refuse to carry. Instead, I feel a strange sense of closure, like I've finally closed a chapter I never wanted to open in the first place. My trust was shattered, but I'm piecing myself back together, stronger than I was before. Most of all, I've come to accept that sometimes the best revenge is simply walking away and choosing yourself. Not lashing out, not revenge for revenge's sake. Just moving forward, making a conscious decision to rebuild your life from the ruins. That's when you truly regain your power, when you decide that your happiness is more important than revenge or regret. Now, I'm looking ahead. Not with hope that everything will be perfect, but with the understanding that I've taken my life back. No more secrets, no more lies, no more betrayal. Just honesty, respect, and a fresh start. And honestly, that feels damn good. So if there's one thing I want others to know, it's this. Trust your instincts, don't ignore the red flags, and never let someone's betrayal define you. You're stronger than anyone who tries to tear you down. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because in the end, reclaiming your life from someone who's hurt you, that's the greatest victory of all.